Hello and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, you mean proprietor, Tenkar's Tavern blog. Your bartender at the Tenkar's Tavern Discord server, and I guess your admin at the Tenkar's Tavern Facebook group. Yes, we are many. Fear us. Or not. We don't need to be feared. So tonight, earlier, before recording this podcast, I was on another podcast. I was on the RPG Coast to Coast podcast. There's a number of hosts. We Friday nights, Sunday mornings, we have two different podcasts on the Ten Cars Tavern Discord server, and they have a rotation of hosts from the industry, and we handle certain different topics come up, and we talk about it, and it's very freewheeling. If you want to know what like a panel would be at a convention, you've never been to a convention or you have been to a convention and you're seeing certain panels, it's similar in some ways to that. And it should be up, I guess, in a couple of days or sooner. But one of the things that came up, thanks to my good friend Pex, was social contract for role-playing games. Now, this is a 10-page document, which is a contract of sorts for RPGs. Now, I'm gonna read the first page and a half, I guess, because this is the part that I pretty much don't have an issue with. I think it's pretty cool. We, the undersigned, for the purpose of having a pleasurable, consistent gaming experience, hereby ratify this contract. The purpose of the contract is to lay ground rules and procedures for both players and game masters. This document is intended to be filled out, modified, scribbled on as needed by the group utilizing it. It was written by Freeman Faust, edited, illustrated, and laid out by Matt Bonhoff for the Shrieker podcast using the Volkhorn typeface and released into the world under the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 4.0 International License. Contract is not intended to be enforceable by law and is merely an exchange of promises without consideration. All right. That's a preamble, kind of. One, we agree upon signing this contract to respect other players and not treat anyone in an unpleasant, negative, or abusive way. Common sense, okay? This is common sense. Okay, I don't know if we really need a contract for it. You could actually, I think, hand out just these first 5 things as a list of, hey, these are the expectations at this table. We agree that the purposes of this game is to have fun, to be respectful, supportive, and nice to one another to achieve this goal. Yeah, and again, nothing ridiculous. We agree that we will act as a team together as players, regardless of what our characters might be up to in the game, to foster a good and meaningful play environment where the GM and players will gain a pleasurable and amusing gaming experience. 4, we will respect the boundaries of our fellow players and GM, and will peacefully and without rancor withdraw from a group if we find we cannot or would prefer not to respect boundaries of a player or GM. Cannot have fun if certain boundaries are respected. The other players will respect that person's decision to leave. 5, we are open to new experiences within limits and will strive to explore and grow as gamers. We will not whinge and cry, but we will endeavor to play the game in a fair manner, reacting in a game progressing way, even to negative effects, setbacks, or unexpected happenings. If our character loses a leg, we will endeavor to remain the Black Knight and threaten to bite Arthur's kneecaps off, and not rage quit or roll a new character immediately. Nor will rocks fall, everyone dies, or similar come from a GM. Okay. And that's where I think this should have stopped. That's where we've gotten to the point. This is great. This is, and you just don't need to fucking sign this shit. But if it's a new group, and this is for a group that isn't one that organically grows, like your organic groups, the ones at your home table, those groups grow organically. This is for you're forming a group at a game store, and maybe you put a recruitment note up. You could probably put that little stuff with the recruitment note so people can know what to expect. But then we get to I don't know, other stuff that We will discuss before the first session what type of game we would like to play. That's already. I don't think you have to. We know that. I don't think you need a rule for that. I don't think you have to add that to a contract. Uh, this game or these games will be played in a serious, lighthearted, beer and pretzel manner. Cross out those that do not apply or circle one that does. Bathroom breaks will be granted at anyone's request. If bathroom breaks become excessive, we will discuss how to mitigate any disruption at the next opportunity. All right. If we're ready, we're on page, what page are we on here? Page 3 out of 10. We're already talking about bathroom breaks and rules on how to take a piss. There is where I think the jumping the shark has started. What will and will not be allowed at the table, who will be responsible for snacks and or meals, if any. If we agree to all chip in for meals, snacks, drinks, etc., then we will make sure to contribute. IOUs will be granted on the following basis. When you have to get to this level of interfering with what would normally be the quote social contract that is unwritten, but now we have to write it out and sign it. Nah. We will not mooch or scam from our fellow players. If a party is having money issues, they will make this clear in advance of the game, and the group will work on a solution to include this player or GM in communal consumption. Oh my God. Alcohol will be permitted during gaming in the following quantities. Tobacco, cigarettes, or chew will be permitted during gaming in the following quantities. Marijuana, for states where it is legal, will be permitted at the table in the following quantities. And I guess in states where it's not legal, who gives a fuck, right? Oh, that's right. You wouldn't actually mention it in a contract, though, right? You'd probably leave that one off contract. We agree to remain generally sober throughout the game, unless we were playing a drinking game, in which case we were probably wasting our time filling out this contract. I think that except for those first 5, yeah, you're probably wasting your time. If a player is late, we wait how long before starting without them? Kids, significant others, visiting friends, curious observers will be allowed as follows. Do you need that into the contract? You ask. Oh my God. We commit to come to all games unless some emergency or important life event interferes. We commit to playing with one another. If my schedule, ability to commit, etc. changes in the future, I will let the group know at the beginning of the next session, and we will work together to allow the game to continue. The game must go on. Listen, important life events can be something as simple as your spouse makes plans, maybe without your knowledge, but they're family. It's a family event. I don't. If you don't want to game regularly, you shouldn't be in a regular group. If you want to game regularly, and that by in itself is a commitment, I don't think you need to put that into a contract. Even with good cause, blank number of consecutive or non-consecutive absences will result in a player's removal from the game, whether expected or already having occurred. So yeah, you come down with what the Jets quarterback just come down with? Oh yeah, mono, normally known as the kissing disease. Come down with mono. We don't want you at the game if you have mono, but yeah, your doctor says you can't, socialize for 3 to 4 weeks. But our contract says 2 consecutive absences. You're gone, man. You're gone, even with good cause. Like, oh, wait, you have a scheduled vacation to Europe for 2 weeks? Ah, dude. Sorry, man. Game's going to move on without you. And when you come back, yeah, you find yourself a new group. If a player or GM misses blank non-consecutive sessions, a vote will be held to remove them from the game. All right. I'm scrolling through it, and The GM, if any, will not bring up the following topics, story elements, or arcs into the story without unanimous approval by the group. Okay, so painful. So why am I bringing this up? Because when you have to overthink a recreational activity, it no longer becomes recreational. If I have to sign a contract, binding or not, to sit down and play a game with my fellow players, I don't think that's a game that I want to be a part of. Seriously. I mean, players may be removed from the group for any reason not outlined elsewhere in this contract, including but not limited to poor behavior, negative comment, abusive behavior, poor play, failure to keep up with obligations, etc., by unanimous, minus the player being voted upon, or 2/3 or majority vote. Because, if you're having a disruptive player, dude, we don't like you, so we're gonna go. You go over there and stand in the corner as we have a vote on whether or not to keep you in the fucking game. First off, if I was the person that you were voting on, I'd tell you fuck you, and I'd leave the game anyway. And I don't believe that you need to make a vote. You know somebody's being disruptive. You don't need to vote. You need to talk. And what you should be doing is talking to the disruptive player, telling them, listen, dude, this is what you're doing. It's disrupting the game. Can you tone it down? Can you change this? Can you not do this? You know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about being adults. Talking about not worrying about gaming necessarily being a safe space, because you can't always guarantee that you're not gonna. I don't know, like the list that's out there. I don't like spiders, so you can't have spiders in any of the game sessions. It's pretend. Okay, we forget this. RPGs are pretend. They're pretend with rules, but they are pretend. And if pretend is more than you can handle, and if you can't be nice, or in other words, don't be a dick to your fellow players, maybe you shouldn't be gaming. Just some, random thoughts on that. All right, folks, as always, be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice, and if you are on, I don't know, Apple iTunes, leave us a review, maybe, perhaps. All right, folks. I'm going to bid you adieu. Thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it. Good night. God bless.